In the sports corner with us this morning, Jets all-time great Marty Lyons. Marty, welcome to the Bronx. How are you?
Thank you, Bobby. It's a pleasure to be with you.
It's so great to see you. I know you're still doing big things on and off the field. We want to get a chance to catch up with you this morning and speak a little bit about your foundation and, of course, the Jets' upcoming season. I figured I might start there because I know the fans at home are excited for the prospects of Gang Green being better than they have been. And we all know that they have the longest playoff list drought in the league. Will this be the year that turns around, Marty?
You know what, Bobby, I think everybody's optimistic that they can turn it around. I think the biggest thing the Jets have to do is they have to start fast. And now that you have Zach Wilson, he's going to be out for the first 3 games. You got Joe Flacco in there. I think you have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball, but they didn't get a lot of opportunities because there's only 3 preseason games. I think they took 20 snaps. But I have a great deal of confidence in Joe Flacco. I'm for the older guys. I think that, 15 years in the league, he went to the Super Bowl. He was the MVP of that Super Bowl. I think he's capable. But they have to play. They have to build the chemistry. And, they haven't won a game in the month of September since 2018. So if you're going to start fast, no better place to do it than at home against Baltimore.
And I think, in terms of optimism, Marty, Jet fans are most excited about the playmakers that they brought in, especially in the draft. I think on paper, the Jets had an extremely good draft.
Well, they really did. And, I was very impressed with their 4th round pick, Michael Clemens out of Texas A&M. That guy's motor was, full speed. And as Coach Saleh says, all gas, no brake. He took it to heart. I think Jermaine Johnson is going to be a valuable asset. Breece Hall, he's an outstanding running back. And then you got Sauce Gardner. He's going to start as a rookie. He's going to match up there one-on-one. They're saying that he could be the next Darrelle Revis. Those are pretty big shoes to step into. But if you have the talent, then you have that expectations. You're going to put a little bit more pressure on yourself, and either you're going to make it or you're not.
You were a former first-round pick for Gang Green. I mean, do you think the pressure that Zach Wilson is, because you know what this feels like, the pressure that Zach Wilson is going through to basically try to turn things around is something that isn't easy to do?
No, it's not easy to do, and it wasn't easy for me to do, coming from Alabama where we only lost 6 games in 4 years. They created a new position. It went from a 3-4 defense to a 4-3. So automatically they put me on the outside, which I kind of played out of position. I was more of a defensive tackle than a defensive end. But expectations that you put on yourself, that you want to go out there and make the team better. But remember, you're only one player. And Zach has to remember that. He's only one player. So I think what they're doing with him at the beginning of the season is letting him develop a little bit more by watching the game. But the statement yesterday by Coach Saleh, he's got to be physically ready, mentally ready, and emotionally ready to go back in. Because the worst thing that could happen, if this is your franchise quarterback for the future, you can't have him getting hurt a 3rd time in less than 2 years.
100%. For you, Marty, I guess you got to feel good about being with the organization for as long as you've been, because it shows obviously longevity. And I mentioned at the top of our interview just how great of a player you were at that time. For me growing up, I got a chance to watch you play, but I think the younger kids get a chance to hear you obviously on the radio. Can you speak a little bit about, transcending through the period of time and being with the organization for so long? In 1979, that's a long time.
Yeah, Bobby, 42 years. I've been very blessed and, to be surrounded by good people that, I came in 1979. I retired in 1991 as a New York Jet. I did some of their TV for Jet Journal. And I've been blessed to be up there in the booth with somebody like Bob Wischusen, who is so talented. He makes my job easy. But anytime that you have that, surround yourself with good people, good things happen. And I'm just blessed that the organization still has confidence in me. And I have confidence, I always will have confidence in the New York Jets. They've been my number one supporter for the foundation since 1982. And it seems like we have a great working relationship and there's a lot of trust. I think if there's anything that the younger generation needs to understand is to be successful in life, you need to build trust. Whether the trust is between you and your employer, between you and your best friend, one day it's going to be between you and your spouse, you and your kids. You have to have trust. And that's the one element that I think I've been blessed with friends and the Jets.
I know for you that in terms of career highlights, it's everything from the playing career, but also everything that you've been able to accomplish off the field. And just, again, for the fans at home, in terms of like playing highlights, I think it's notable to tell everyone about being the defensive player of the year in college. And then, of course, getting into the College Football Hall of Fame on the first ballot, which a lot of players don't get the opportunity to do, playing your entire career with the Jets, being part of that memorable New York sack exchange. You mentioned Man of the Year in 1984. The team ends up creating the Marty Lyons Award, something they've been able to do annually to honor the players that have been doing big things off the field with the community. And then, Chris and I and BronxNet, we were there when you got inducted into the Ring of Honor in 2013. Just a tremendous amount of special moments. Is there one thing for you in terms of playing career that stands out the most?
Well, you know what? I was very fortunate. I spoke at a couple of high school football games last week, and all those are stepping stones. All those are reminders that, you've been blessed. You've had teammates, you've had family members, you've had that total support, the coaches that believed in you before you believed in yourself. All those awards I shared with everybody that, my name might have been on the awards, but their name could have been on there too, and it should have been. And I told the kids down there, I said, one award that goes unnoticed is in 1978, we were playing Penn State for the national championship. And all during the year, Coach Bryant would appoint a captain for the offense, a captain for the defense. But as we got ready to go into that national championship game, it was always a tradition at Alabama for the team, the players to vote for the captains on defense and on offense. And to me, being voted by my teammates as a captain of the 1978 national championship team, along with Jeff Rutledge and Tony Nathan on the offensive side, that means a lot because those are the guys you went to work with every day. Those are the guys that, when you're in a leadership role, they believe in your words, they hold you accountable. And that is the award that goes unnoticed to a lot of people. But to this day, it means a great deal that I can look back and say, hey, you know what? My teammates believed in me also.
That's a great story, Marty. You speak of iconic names, Bear Bryant, obviously, I know has been so important in your life. Coming into this interview this morning, there was one person I did want to ask you about because I know he was in the radio booth when you were playing at that time, and it's a Bronx boy and Marty Glickman. Any thoughts about Marty? Because I know you guys have been able to kind of keep that tradition going.
Bobby, it's ironic. When I first started doing college games in, I think it was 1991, I would meet with Marty the next day after we did a game, and we were doing them for MSG or Cablevision, and we would go into a meeting and we would watch it over. And Marty was so good. He goes, I know what you're trying to say here, but it's not the right way of saying it. So, you know what? He cared about the future. He took time when he didn't have to sit and meet with me and say, hey, you know what? This is the way it's got to, be portrayed, especially on TV, because on TV, you don't have to talk a lot because the viewers get to see the game. On radio, Al Troutwig from MSG gave me the best advice. He said, pretend you're talking to a blind person. Paint the canvas. It may not be right, but as long as you can paint it where the listeners can understand that the runner is going to the right and this is happening, that's happening, they can start to visualize it as they're listening to it. It goes, that's what you have to do for radio. So again, being surrounded by good people, having thick skin and understanding if you want to stay in a career, take advice from the people that have been there before you and have been successful. Don't take corrective criticism because nobody's going to come out of the blocks and be perfect.
That was part one of our interview with Jets legend Marty Lyons. We'll continue the conversation this Friday on Open.